You're at dinner. She's talking about her day. You're nodding, agreeing, laughing a half second too fast at everything she says. And somewhere around the second course, you feel it. That cold little drop in your stomach. The one that whispers, she's pulling away and I don't know why. You've been so good, so attentive, so easy to be around. So, why does it feel like the harder you try, the more invisible you become? Here's what's actually running through your head in that moment. Am I being too much right now? Why does being nice never seem to be enough? Did I do something wrong, or is this just how it goes? Why do the guys who care less seem to get more? Here's the truth nobody's told you. You're not losing her because you're not giving enough. You're losing her because somewhere along the way, you stopped being someone worth choosing and started being someone who's just there. This isn't because you're broken. It's not because you are too nice, or because something's fundamentally wrong with you. Every man who has ever loved a woman has sat exactly where you're sitting right now, wondering why effort alone never seems to be the thing that closes the distance. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the 6 boundaries that don't just protect your peace. They're the exact thing that makes a high-value woman lean in instead of pull away. Not tricks, not games, just the version of you that doesn't disappear. Let's get into it. Most men believe attraction is built by being agreeable, by saying yes, by being endlessly available, endlessly accommodating, endlessly easy. But here is the real truth. Attraction isn't built by removing friction. It's built by a man who still has a self left over after he loves someone. Her nervous system is reading you before her mind ever catches up to it. Every time you cave on something that matters to you just to keep the peace, some quiet part of her registers it. He doesn't have a floor. And a person without a floor cannot hold weight, cannot be leaned on, cannot be trusted with the heavy stuff. Because if he bends on everything, what happens when something actually matters? This is the part no one talks about. Boundaries don't push women away. The absence of them does. A woman doesn't lose attraction because a man has limits. She loses attraction because she can't find any. Here's what changes everything once you actually get this. The chase and retreat patterns so many men experience, where the more they pursue, the more she pulls back, isn't because she's playing games. It's because pursuit without boundaries reads as instability to her nervous system. Safety isn't built by chasing. It's built by presence. By a man who's clearly still standing in his own life, with or without her in it. Not louder texts, not more compliments, not trying harder to be whatever she seems to want in the moment. But a man whose yes actually means something because his no exists, too. That's what the next 6 boundaries are really about. Not rules, not tactics, just what it looks like when a man stops negotiating away pieces of himself to keep a woman around, and discovers that's the exact thing that makes her want to stay. Your calendar is not a vending machine. Most men treat their time like it's infinitely available the second a woman they like shows interest. Dropping plans, rearranging their week, always being the one who bends the schedule. Here's the deeper truth. A life with no structure to it doesn't read as devotion. It reads as emptiness. Her brain isn't impressed by how fast you cleared your schedule. It's quietly asking, if he has nothing else going on, what exactly am I joining? Presence is attractive. Total availability is not. Because somewhere underneath it, she feels the absence of a life she'd actually be excited to be part of. Picture the same text. Hey, free tonight? Disconnecting version. Yes, I can move some stuff around. What time works for you? Sent within 90 seconds, plans rearranged before she's even replied again. Connecting version, I've got something tonight, but I'm free Thursday. Want to grab dinner then? Calm, clear, no scrambling. And here's what happens when you hold that line. She stops feeling like she's the only thing keeping your life interesting and starts feeling like she gets to be part of something that was already worth wanting. Don't let her be the only room in your house. Most men, once a relationship starts feeling real, slowly let their friendships, hobbies, and goals quietly fade into the background. Not on purpose, just one missed gym session, one skipped night out, one I'll catch up with the guys next week at a time. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. A man who dissolves into a relationship isn't showing love, he's showing that he needs her to complete him. And a woman can feel that need before he's even said a word. It doesn't feel like devotion to her nervous system, it feels like pressure, like she's suddenly responsible for being his entire world, which is a weight no one signed up to carry alone. Disconnecting version: friend texts about the weekend trip and he says, "Nah, I want to spend the time with her instead." 3 weekends in a row. Connecting version: I'm doing the trip with the guys Saturday. Let's do Sunday brunch when I'm back. And when you protect that, something shifts. She stops feeling like she has to be everything to you and starts feeling like she gets to choose a man who already has a full life instead of being the only thing holding his together. Her mood is not your job to fix. Most men, the second she's upset, go straight into fix-it mode, offering solutions, getting defensive, or quietly absorbing her bad day as evidence that they did something wrong. Here's the part that's actually going on underneath. Most emotional reactivity isn't a request for a solution, it's a request for presence. When you rush to fix her feelings, what she often hears isn't, "I care," it's, "Your feelings are a problem I need to make go away." And that's an exhausting thing to feel from someone you're supposed to be able to fall apart in front of. Disconnecting version. She vents about a hard day at work and he says, "Well, did you try talking to your manager about it?" Already solving, already fixing. Connecting version. That sounds really frustrating. I'm here, whatever you need. No fixing, just steady ground. And what's moving through her in that second is something like, "I don't have to perform okayness around him." That's the shift that turns you from someone she has to manage her emotions around into someone she can finally let her guard down with. Disrespect doesn't get a pass for being funny. Most men, when something crosses the line, a sharp comment, a public dig, a joke that wasn't really a joke, laugh it off to avoid seeming sensitive or starting a fight. Here's the truth most people miss. A woman testing your boundaries isn't always cruelty. Sometimes it's an unconscious search for your floor, and when there isn't one, something in her quietly downgrades you, even if she never says it out loud. Respect isn't requested, it's modeled calmly in the moment it's tested. Disconnecting version. She makes a cutting joke about him in front of her friends and he laughs along. Face a little tighter than his voice. Connecting version. That one actually landed a bit harsh. I know you didn't mean it that way, but let's leave that one out. Said evenly, no anger, no lecture, just a line. And here's what changes everything once you do this consistently. She's not thinking he's too sensitive, she's thinking, he respects himself enough that I should, too. That's the moment respect stops being assumed and starts being real. Stop editing yourself down to keep the peace. Most men, especially early on, quietly trade their actual opinions for whatever keeps things smooth. Agreeing with restaurant picks they don't love, plans they're not excited about, opinions they don't actually hold. Here's the deeper layer. Every time you trade honesty for harmony, you're teaching her a version of you that doesn't exist. And some part of her can feel the gap between what you're saying and what you're actually thinking. That gap doesn't feel safe. It feels like talking to a reflection instead of a person. Disconnecting version. Yeah, sure. Wherever you want to eat is fine. For the 4th week in a row. No real preference ever offered. Connecting version. Honestly, I'd rather do that new Italian place, but I'm happy to do your pick next time. A real preference held lightly, offered without apology. And when you do that consistently, she starts to relax in a way she didn't know she was holding tension around. Because now she's not just dating someone who's pleasant. She's dating someone who's real. Stop auditioning for closeness you already deserve. Most men, when they sense distance opening up, respond by chasing harder. More texts, more reassurance seeking, more subtle bids for her attention. Almost begging the relationship back into what's actually happening underneath that instinct. Chasing doesn't close distance. It usually widens it. Because pursuit driven by anxiety reads as instability, not devotion. The man who can sit calmly in uncertainty without spiraling into proving his worth is the man whose presence actually feels like safety instead of pressure. Disconnecting version. She goes quiet for a day and he sends 4 follow-up texts trying to figure out what's wrong. Connecting version. He notices the quiet, stays steady, and simply says when they do talk, "Hey, good to hear from you." No interrogation, no anxious undertone. And that's the shift that turns a relationship from a constant negotiation for reassurance into something that actually feels like a refuge for both of you. These 6 boundaries aren't a checklist you run through to get the girl. They're not a script and they're definitely not a trick. They're what it looks like when a man stops shrinking himself to keep someone around and discovers that the version of him with a floor, a life, and a real no is the version worth choosing in the first place. This isn't about becoming harder to reach. It's about becoming someone who doesn't disappear. And a woman will feel the difference before you've said a single word about it. So, here's the line to remember. You don't become magnetic by becoming easier to be around. You become magnetic by becoming someone real enough to be hard to forget.